Thank you.
All right, crime is up in big cities across America, and the media has finally figured out what's behind it. It's not the radical DAs who won't prosecute, it's legal gun owners who are responsible. At least, that's what the New York Times is saying. A recent Times article argued that violent crime is spiking in part because of an increase in gun purchases in 2020. And in a 2016 survey of prisoners, less than 10% of gun crimes were committed with a legally obtained gun. Further, crime seems to be lower in places where there are more legal gun owners. A study shows burglaries are less likely in areas with high gun permits. Did all the looting that occurred in 2020 stem from legal guns? No. Look at this New York City carjacking last month. Do you see a legal gun in this video? Do you see a gun at all? The answer is there isn't one. Why doesn't the New York Times blame who is really responsible for this crime? Corrupt liberal prosecutors who undermine the rule of law and the individuals committing it. Joining me now is Tomi Lahren, host of Fox Nation No Interruption with Tomi Lahren. All right, Tomi, hit it. Who's committing these crimes? Are the guns on their own walking around and shooting people?
Apparently it's the guns. That is what is to blame. It's not the thugs and the felons that the Democrats are intent on coddling, or the activist DAs who are intent on coddling these thugs and felons. It's always the guns. But we have to go back to, I like what Kamala often says, the root of the problem.
Yes.
Why were there more gun owners in 2020? Oh, maybe that's because average Americans looked around and said, boy, the government is intent on defunding the police, undermining the Second Amendment, so we need to defend ourselves. And really, 2020 was a giant advertisement for the Second Amendment and for gun ownership. You saw liberals going out and purchasing firearms to protect themselves. They realized the government is not going to protect them. They're going to undermine the law enforcement that wants to protect them. That's how we're in this place. But the Democrats can't just admit that. They can't admit that their felon coddling policies are to blame. So, of course, it's an inanimate object, because that is obviously the source of the problem.
Well, the amazing part of it to me is that even here in New York City, more people are buying body armor. Forget about just purchasing guns, because they know there are, police are being punished for doing, things that they used to do in terms of arrest. They're being told to stand down. They no longer have qualified immunity, which means they can be sued, they can lose their house or whatever. But people now understand that, what the sheriff in Florida was talking about. Remember the sheriff this week who came out and said, hey, in Florida, you got to stand your ground. If this guy's in your house, is looking to burglarize or rob you, you can shoot him. Shoot him and kill him.
Well, where I'm from, in South Dakota, we value the Second Amendment. We value defending our lives and our property. That's not such a thing so much in LA or New York. But if gun laws worked, if strict gun laws and infringing upon the rights of average law-abiding Americans worked, then you would see Chicago, LA, New York, you would see them as the safest places in the country. That's not so. The proof is in the pudding. So Democrats can gaslight all they want. It's not the gun. It's the thug holding the gun. So maybe prosecute them and put them behind bars where they belong.
And recognize also that the guy with the gun usually has an illegal gun. He's not the guy who actually went out, bought a gun, did a background check, went to training, did all that other stuff. That, I know from 30 years in law enforcement. It's the guy with the illegal gun who's committing the crime. But, it really is a sad commentary on where we are. And that's why people are moving to states like you moved to Tennessee, because I guess you feel that there are like-minded people there and you're more safe in a state like Tennessee than you would be in California or New York.
Well, certainly, you can protect and defend yourself in a state like Tennessee, but we just go back to the Democrats and they fail time and time again with their policies, and they always have to blame something. And now, of course, it's an inanimate object. But the Second Amendment is always going to stand strong, and even liberals are going to learn to turn to it, because guess what? The Democrats and those DAs, they're not going to protect you. The Second Amendment, though, that's your best bet.
Well, you look at someone like Cori Bush. How much does she spend of her campaign money? She wants to make sure no one has a gun, but she wants to be protected by men with guns. The hypocrisy is just incredible. But it's great to see you, Tomi Lahren. It's great to have you here.